So I think the biggest question coming out of the Oscars yesterday was Will Smith in the right for slapping Chris Rock in the face. To be fair, in my personal opinion, if it wasn't for Chris Rock getting slapped by Will Smith, I wouldn't even know the Oscars were going on. But
Same.
based off of that and everything that happened, I it's a hard decision because in the same situation, I feel like a lot of people would want to say that they would go out of their way to do that and be that upfront about it. But at the same time, I feel like there's always like a time and a place to handle things. And it definitely felt in that situation, it wasn't the time nor the place. So I would be leaning more towards no. And just to get that started off then. So Alex, what's your thoughts on everything that happened yesterday with that?
So we could first talk about how the Oscars have been dropping in popularity for like years. And I was watching, Moist Critical, I would
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching his like video on it, which he like kind of just put out, and he was talking about like, yeah, he wouldn't have watched the Oscars. Like the one year he wasn't gonna watch it, and like it grabbed him and like it brought him to it.
Hmm.
And he was like asking if it was staged. Like everyone was like thinking it was like like a stage thing, just to like bring
Viewership back
attention
up.
to the Oscars. Yeah, which like I think Chris Rock after he got hit, he was like that was like the greatest moment of television history.
Yeah,
So
that's what
something
he said.
along those lines.
Yeah.
Which like obviously no, it isn't. But like
And
that
then
alone, it's still like almost number one trending on Twitter. Like everyone's talking about the Oscars now. Kind of. Kind
yeah,
of.
it's definitely like one of the biggest topics of today, especially being the fact of like a lot of people are like debating about whether it was staged for that same sense to like gain popularity because everyone was saying like, oh, I saw people talking about like, oh, Chris Rock moved before he was even hit, or like, oh, why was he just standing there? Was he thinking that Will Smith was coming up there to get jiggy with it? Like, what do you think's going
I
on?
saw that one.
And I'm like, it's a really good point. As much
There's
of
been
it as much as it's gonna
there's
be
been
like a
some good
dance battle just jumping out on stage, but no, I mean, especially in that moment, like it definitely could have been a stunt to like bring up viewership because stuff like that. Like I don't remember the last time I watched any sort of award show, and I feel like if there is people watching award shows, it's because certain people are performing at them. Like when it comes to like the music award shows, if people are like performing at them, it's like most of the reason why people watch certain things. But I could imagine a lot of people are really watching stuff like that anymore and like actually being entertained with it.
yeah, what the Oscars did this year to like because people watch these things for like performances and skits and things, which are never that funny, but things
Mhm.
like that. They even like announced like before the show even started, they announced a bunch of awards because like it's like the Game Awards. The Game Awards is not the Game Awards. It's like announcing games that are gonna come out.
Yeah.
The Music Awards, just performances. Like it is sad that the Oscars like it's saying about the awards and even like something like this. Like no one's talking about the Oscars. They're talking about something that happened at the Oscars. So it
Yeah.
is a little sad. But to get on topic for is Will Smith in the right here? No. No, he is not. Yeah, so I don't think he's in the right. I do want to say that he is how old is he? 53. Now, there is some circumstances where I think that it can be justified, you
Mhm.
know. But like you've been a professional actor for like 20, 30 years or whatever. Like you've been in this industry, you know how the Oscars work. Like it's Chris Rock, his literal job there is to make jokes like that,
Yeah, like
which
crack jokes at people at the expense of others, which not
exactly.
always is the best format, but it gets people engaged with the show and it makes like a good time out of it. Because like that's the whole point of being a host, stuff like that. It's like bring more entertainment to it, make it more enjoyable to watch. So that's why I can't even really blame it on Chris Rock. Because even then, I don't know. I could understand like from people from the point of view that might view it as a bad joke because of
It's not that
certain
bad.
people that might have that medical condition, they don't have control over it. But like even in the moment, like Will Smith was laughing at it. And then he realized he's like, oh, I shouldn't be laughing at this, and then went ahead and did that. So like it's not it was a lighthearted joke compared to a bunch of other jokes we've heard in our lifetime, ones that are actually very, very offensive. So I
I mean,
think in
I
that
yeah.
sense it could have been a lot worse for the joke it was. So that's why, like, especially with that, like it's just literally he's doing his job of like what he's supposed to do with being a host. So I can't get mad at him over it. But yeah, like you said, he's been in it for 30 years plus probably at this point. So you got to figure he's used to like probably hearing stuff not like that, but like in general, like stuff might have been worse that's been said before in the past.
I don't think the Oscars should even like what was the one guy, Ricky? What was his last
Ricky
name?
Gervais.
Didn't he like he literally roasted and like tore apart Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I was talking about Leonardo.
Yeah,
I didn't watch any of it, so I saw a
it
part of it.
was
We was talking about
he was
Leonardo DiCaprio and like going to the award show with a girl like being too young, and that by
no,
the
I
end
don't
of
heard
watching the
that.
3 hour movie, The Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that she was too old for him then. But
I don't remember that. It was like I watched. I think I watched those Oscars actually, and he was just like ripping into like everything and everyone,
mhm,
and it's like I'm not saying there's not a place for that. I don't really like Hollywood, but like this is an award show for films and stuff like that, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't really think that like yeah, it makes it a little more entertaining a lot of the time, but like it's not really for that, and it's like
I
should the Oscars really be caring so much about viewership? 'Cause it's not. I mean, they need to make money. It's a money
well, yeah,
making
exactly.
venture,
It's a
which I
money
don't think
game.
it like you need money to run everything, obviously, but it's like
I
I
feel
don't
like
think you need that much money to do it, especially if you
yeah,
get donations from like places in Hollywood. Like I think they'll be able to figure that out. So I don't think it's really
but, like
I don't
that's
really
the
agree that they should be
thing.
doing that.
That's the thing when you think about stuff like that. Like other things like have incentives. Like if people are to like to go to an event, like they can get funds through stuff like that. But stuff like the Oscars and stuff like that. Besides people announcing the awards, what else would they really have to draw people to watch it? Besides
But who
people like
cares if
well, yeah,
people watch
well,
it? That's what
exactly,
I'm
yes, but they're
saying.
trying to monetize it and like try to make funds off of it, like just for themselves. And I'm assuming, especially like they probably have to pay for everything, but I'm assuming like everyone that's actor wise gets in there for free. They're all there. So like they
They
have
get
no
those
other
like
way to like get money really besides
well they if
viewership.
just stop giving away like $100,000 gift bags and like
It's
it's a
Hollywood.
celebration of actors and filmmakers and things like that.
Yeah.
Like people are gonna watch the Oscars because people care about film,
Yeah.
right? But it's the people that don't care about film. Honestly, why do you care if they're watching? I don't think you need that much money if you maybe cut some things like fat around the edges, like those fucking
Well, because
gift
at that point,
baskets.
the bigger numbers, the better. It makes them like look better in the same situation. Be like, oh well, we had this viewership compared to
Who
like the
cares?
VMAs or stuff like. Because everything's a number game. If you're
I
like,
know. I know.
if you're on YouTube, would you even if you don't care if certain people are watching, wouldn't you rather see that you had like 3 million views and even if 2 million of them don't give a fuck about what you're doing, they're just there because they're there. Like it's just like you want the bigger number no matter what. And like for them, I'm assuming there's probably like I don't know if it's like the Super Bowl in a say, but like more people might like try to like buy commercials for the Oscars or stuff like that. Maybe because I think people that like film are watching it, whether it's like targeted for like certain movies that are coming up and stuff like that. But even then, being like they probably have to like try to fulfill a quota because they have such a high budget with the stuff they do, the people they invite, stuff like that. So I think
That shit
it's
can't be that high.
I don't know, but then again, they're all actors, like they're all famous people, so you never have any idea like what their budgets are. I mean, how Amy Schumer was there, so I'm sure their budget was insanely low then.
Yeah, pretty much. She paid them to let her into the show.
Yeah,
I'm saying the budget. It can't. It cannot be that high. Also, something like football, that is a business venture. That's the whole point of the sport.
yeah,
I don't. And movies are a business venture, but this isn't a movie. It's a celebration of movies.
yeah.
So I just don't agree that it should be about money. But obviously, it is. But
Yeah, like besides that, like
it's
what
not
else
going
would
to
be
change.
given they could always hand out the awards. They could do it in the back room and be like, oh, well, this movie won this award, this movie
No,
won that
no,
award. Like
it's
they, that's what I'm saying. Like they want to make a production out of it. Like they want to
yeah.
like
But if
make
people are
something
gonna
out of it.
watch it, people that really care
Will
about
they
it are gonna
though? I
watch.
mean, given like think about like the Game Awards stuff like that. You could just wait until it's over and then find out who won what. That's not like it really like dives insanely deep into it probably and like shows like some behind the scenes stuff. Like no, you just see clips of certain movies. I'm guessing and you just see who won what for what role.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
assuming like you could wait
yeah.
and see it till afterwards and still figure out the same thing and not waste your time. So like they needed like a production value to it to like make it. Because how long are they? They probably have to be like several hours long. I'm assuming.
It's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
My point is that you could still get that without making everything about money, but
Oh
that's
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
besides the point. Basically, I don't really agree that they should be making all these jokes. But that being said, that's what they do,
Yeah.
right? And I know I've been suffering from a little hair loss. I mean, 2/3 of men have male pattern baldness. you know? And I've seen a lot of discourse on the internet about alopecia and people saying it's an autoimmune disease.
Mhm.
From what I've read, I could be wrong about this, but it's not. It's just often associated with one,
Yeah.
and like you never know what's going on behind the scenes.
Well,
You
exactly,
know,
yeah.
you,
Like,
you
you
don't
don't know what
know
stress was going on between them 2, like, maybe where
exactly.
it caused that outrage. But even then,
Yeah,
like, being, like, someone that's a part of Hollywood, like, you know they're watching you all the time. Like, you're always under the scrutiny of people, which is what sucks about becoming famous. It's why people talk about, like, "Oh, well, be careful what you wish for," because, like, once you become famous, like, there's no going back with, like, paparazzi and everything, like, people always watching you. But, like, at the same time, like, you know where you are, you know the situation, and that's where it kinda looks like it could have been, like, an ego move, like to kind of like protect himself and like protect like his reputation basically. Because I mean, as much as I'd love to make a joke about your male pattern baldness, I don't want your girlfriend chasing me down and slapping me in the face, I guess, since that's what we're doing now. um but it just looks like it's kind of like a charade put on to like protect maybe a fragile situation that people might not know about them behind the scenes, given because everyone knows like how everyone talks about like Jada and other guys and stuff online, given we
yeah,
don't know anything for factual states. But maybe it's just like some sort of like jerk reaction to be like, everything's okay, I'm gonna protect her. And it just kind of goes a
yeah,
different way.
yeah. Well, let's take one thing here about my fragile situation. I have slight male pattern baldness, a little bit of receding hairline. I'm not bald. I'm not
Yet.
bald.
Yet.
And but it is a thing that you feel insecure about,
Of
especially,
course.
most men somewhat go bald,
Hmm. You
but most
expect
women
that.
like
Yeah.
exactly.
Like
It's
women,
not really
it's a
like that.
different thing. Like I feel like they're
Exactly.
very insecure about most things when it comes to that. And like hair is a very important thing to girls. That's why I completely understand if she would be upset by the joke or if he would want to protect her because he knows she feels upset about it. Like just the situation, the way it ran with like him laughing about it and then turning around and doing that. And even today, I saw like she posted a TikTok saying that she was okay. Like she's not upset. Like she's happy with her hair. Like she knows she's proud of her bald head, which is a good way to look at it. And I understand, like, given anyone that's at the butt end of a joke doesn't want to be at the butt end of a joke. So, given it's always the same situation, like, not everyone's always going to love a joke you make, especially when it's at other people's expense. So that's why I can understand being upset on that side. Or I haven't really looked at the back and forth battle about alopecia on the internet, but I could see where people be upset because no matter what, someone's always gonna be upset by a joke. It's always at someone else's expense for what you're saying. But sorry, as you were saying before, then
Yeah, so I'm not going to undermine anyone's emotional response to anything.
of course,
Like you could say it's like, oh, it's not even that big of a joke. It's like, oh, a hair loss, but it's like, that
to them it might
that
be.
could really affect the mental state of some people, especially if it's a disease that can often be associated with a autoimmune problem and things like that.
Something they
So
can't control.
exactly, I'm not gonna say that. I mean, personally, I don't think it was like a huge joke. I don't think it was that bad. And then the nature of comedy is like a whole other discussion.
Hmm.
But I don't personally think it was that bad. But I'm gonna tell someone how to
How they
react
feel.
to a joke emotionally because, like, you don't know what they've been through with it psychologically, and it could really affect them and could really bother them.
Hmm.
But at the same time, uh, and even like someone like Will, like you feel protective over someone who's going through that. But at the same time, that doesn't give you the right to start hitting people. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
if
justify it.
exactly if we all suddenly agree with Will Smith here, right? That this was okay, that like people are like, really not even just supporting him, but really commemorating him. Like, yeah, he did the right thing here. If we start saying that, then like our civilization is just going underground.
Yeah, it's like
You know,
opening up to like saying that if other people feel upset about stuff, they could openly hit people.
you just start hitting
And
people.
that's at the same time, do you think if it was a lesser liked actor that there'd be more backlash over it? If it
I
was,
think
say,
there's a lot of
someone,
backlash.
I'm saying a lot more. I'm saying like a lot, maybe like viewed in more of like a negative standpoint to where people would want to like make action upon it. Because like being that it's Will Smith, I feel like is a very publicly loved actor. I can't think of anyone by name that like people don't generally like or work against. Or even since you said Ricky Gervais earlier, how he like off-putting with all that stuff. Like if it was like a Ricky Gervais or someone like that like did something like that, do you think
Let's
there'd
be
be more backlash based off
let's
of
be
like who it
clear. He
is?
made way worse jokes than the LP. He
Well, I don't
made
remember that.
way worse jokes.
I've legitimately never watched the Oscars. So that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
he made worse.
I
But then
don't
again,
know
Chris
what he
Rock's
said
would have
then.
made the joke.
Yeah.
I don't think Will Smith's even that pot after YouTube Rewind. Most critical was talking about this. After YouTube Rewind, like his reputation is kind of like, do people love Will Smith anymore?
What was YouTube Rewind? Like what happened in that
What
he
do
was a
you
part
mean?
of?
The
I
on
never
the
watched it.
you know the me? Oh my god, YouTube Rewind 2018. The
I know it was
oh
like
that's hot.
I know
That's
it was
hot.
one of like the most disliked videos in YouTube history.
No, it's the
The
most
most,
disliked.
yeah.
Like he was a big part of that, and like his whole YouTube venture was just kind of, I don't use this word lightly, but it was kind of cringe.
I didn't know he did YouTube.
Uh, he he kind of did like celebrity like Jack Black did YouTube, but he was like that was an actual channel. Will Smith was different. I don't know. He just got involved with it. So first of all, we have a new member of the little discussion here. Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
Okay. So let me finish my point here too. So yeah, Will Smith doesn't have the best reputation anymore. I don't think. So I don't really see. I don't think people are like defending him necessarily. Like if someone's like really beloved, they do something like that's usually deemed as like shitty. Like yeah, people will
Mm.
defend them. I don't think people are necessarily defending him, but more like saying he's in the right, which like is kind of different to me. Like they're agreeing with him, not defending him.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's because Will Smith that did it, and I don't think his reputation's even that great to begin with.
Well, going to the reputation standpoint, like if you think about like YouTube Rewind, like yes, with our generation, it might have had more of an impact to being YouTube Rewind. I never watched it. I kind of wish that I did now.
How'd you
Um,
not watch?
I just thought it was dumb. It just looked dumb just from the thumbnail. Um, but I feel like it only impacts our generation with YouTube Rewind. I feel like a lot of older people might not even know what YouTube Rewind would be or even really watch YouTube that much. So I feel like he still probably has the same reputation he's had over the past generations with having like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like all his like popular movies and stuff like that. So he's probably still seen as like a popular actor besides all the Jada stuff that was going on before and what's gone on in the past. But I feel like he might not have the worst reputation, but I could definitely I see what you mean where it's like the reputation might not have that much of an impact in comparison to the situation itself.
I'm talking more Twitter reputation. Like who
Oh
uses
yeah.
Twitter? Young people. And Twitter has a lot of like Twitter, Facebook, whatever has a lot of influence on someone's perceived reputation,
Mhm.
which I think has the most influence on that.
That's where I get all
So
my
in
news
that
from.
case, it's more young people, and young people watch YouTube Rewind because it fucking sucked.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't even know what YouTube Rewind is.
You don't know what it is?
No, I've never used
Yeah.
it.
How is no one seen YouTube Rewind 2018?
I also don't agree with the fact that you think Twitter defines
I'm not saying
an
define.
individual's popularity. It
No,
would
no,
define, but
yeah,
the image,
it's
the
a
perception
major.
of one's, you know, personality or view or whatever you want to say, popularity. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because I'm not as tech savvy as say my generation or you guys for that fact, but I mean, I don't use Twitter or look at Twitter to define, one's perception.
I think he
I look
says
at that.
it has a lot of upholding with reputation just because people heavy carry it with like such a heavy weight. I don't think he's saying that like because of Twitter. I think people just look at it like how you said, like not being tech savvy, I guess. Like people like uphold like what happens on there too much. It's a very niche area when it comes to like news and like comments and stuff like that. It's a very weird platform. So I don't
I mean,
think
I
he's
can
sick.
agree. I mean, I can agree to that sentiment a little bit, and in the fact that when it all happened, I turned to Twitter to look at
Yeah.
other people's reactions.
There
It's
you
more of a
go.
reactionary
Yeah.
app, but I wouldn't say it solely is the purpose of defining one's popularity. Maybe just in their image at the time of whatever happened. But I mean,
Well,
yeah, I mean
yeah.
it definitely very reactionary. It's definitely where you want to look to
It has
find
a
that kind of stuff.
it has a big influence on people's perception because of social media in general, but because Twitter allows for such a vast view of array points. Because normally, if you're on any other social media, if you're not following that person, you won't see what they say. Twitter just kind of goes widespread of being the fact that like people like it or people retweet it, it shows up on your timeline to where you see like all those different viewpoints, like all the people agreeing. So I get what he means for both of it.
Well,
Like
let me
saying,
clarify my point here. First of all, you don't have to be tech savvy to use Twitter. It's a download. I'm as tech savvy as a fucking rock. I can use Twitter.
yeah, see his YouTube
I have
videos.
I have the technological savviness of like a 2-year-old, you know. But I can still use Twitter because Twitter's like a goddamn war zone. That's why I love it so much, right? But I don't think popularity is the right word because he still has a lot of box office draw. Obviously, it's more of like public image. I think it's a little
Mhm.
different than like popularity, and like Twitter has like I think it's like a huge influence on that, like 30-40%, something like that. I think it's like one of the biggest perceptions of public image, but that's not necessarily the same thing as popularity.
Yeah.
But even so, like I said, I don't know if that's the most important thing here. It's more that like even if he had a great public image at the moment, like I just don't think people are defending him. I
Yeah.
just think it's more like they're agreeing with
The concept, the
what he's saying.
situation.
Yes. And speaking of that, Matthew, let's hear your thoughts on and his actions. Do you agree with William Smith?
Well, let me first start off by saying that I understand both sides of the argument. Okay, I'm not saying that my perception or my opinion is. I mean, I understand both. I think my opinion is solely on my belief and my feelings at the time, but I don't. I mean, yeah, what he did. I mean, it could have been done different time, different place, but in the moment, you know, obviously you had him laughing at the beginning, but then his wife clearly took offense. You know, Jada clearly took offense to that. But personal opinion, personal feeling, you know, I personally feel that Chris Rock deserved it. I think, and my belief and my reasoning for that is, I think comedians have solely taken it too far. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I wouldn't find it funny or, you know, what comedians say nowadays, but I think that particular joke, I think it was very distasteful. I mean, Jada has a medical condition, right? You know, but I think, I mean, if you look about it, Will Smith, Jada, they've been in the news a lot recently. And I think it's all that pent up emotion, pent up anger. I couldn't tell if it was real or if it's staged. They're both actors, they're both
Mhm.
comedians. I mean, I
It's
couldn't
gotta
tell.
be.
But you know what? This is, and I was thinking about this earlier today, right? You think about what happened. Do you think what happened set him up for his speech? Because if you look about it, his speech was about protecting family, protecting others. I mean, in that moment, he was protecting his family. He felt like he was protecting his family. He felt
Yeah.
like he was King Richard from the movie, like he was doing, you know, a purpose. I mean, I'm not saying that if I wasn't in the audience like the rest of the celebrities that I wouldn't laugh, but I'm just saying I can understand why he did it, and I can understand it. I'm not saying he's not wrong for doing it. I mean, I was looking at the penal law for California, and I mean, it looks to me, based on what I read, that can be seen as simple assault in the view of California penal law. I mean, in New York State, that would be considered harassment because it was an open-handed, you know, slap.
The
Um,
open-handed slap.
but
Keep it
I
open
mean, I couldn't tell.
hands.
Last night when I watched it, did my TV just freeze? Like, is this real? Is this a stunt? I couldn't tell. And then I rewatched it later on, and I'm like, oh, well, you know what? He looks pretty angry, but at the same point in the beginning, he was laughing. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's got so many different views. There's people that say it's wrong. There's people that say it's right. I mean,
And that's where I view it, is like I feel like, as I was saying just before you joined, that there's always going to be someone at the butt end of a joke. That's how comedy works. And sadly, sometimes you could
Oh,
be okay with it, or it could be something that like offsets you, something like that. But like as Alex and I were saying beforehand, and you just brought up about how they were in the news a lot recently, like it could just be loaded up, it could have built up, it could have been stuff like that, that like it just all finally hit. And especially being like that they are so famous and they're always in the public eye, they're like right in that moment, it could have just been like something they weren't okay with dealing with. So that's like I
you
could
know,
see why it going either way of being okay or not being okay.
you know what? I get that, and I'm like, you know, I didn't care so much for the news prior to this incident,
Mhm.
right? But it only takes so much for somebody to to crack, right? I've been on this world, this planet for 22 years, okay? And I've seen, obviously I was young, mischievous. I've had my fair share of outbreaks after something like that. I wouldn't have done it in
Mischievous.
such a public area, personally.
Take them out back.
Yeah,
But
time and a place. Exactly.
it's
That,
just a
that
time and a
Shotgun,
place.
that's the way I viewed it. As a
But
time and a place. That was the biggest thing.
it is. It's a time and a place. But I have to give it to Will Smith on this one. I think, my personal opinion, I probably would have done the same thing. You know, I mean, comedy. If you think about it, in the last 10 years alone, okay, if you think about the way society sociologically has changed in terms of viewpoints and in terms of equality, acceptability, in terms of all of that, right? You still have comedy. Has comedy really changed? Has You think comedy's got away with a lot of stuff? I mean,
I will say, being from someone that's watched a lot of comedy specials and I kind of grew up like watching a lot of stuff like that, I mean we could get into this on a different day with a different episode. But I do think that comedy overall, being stand-up comedy and comedy specials, has changed a lot. Not only because of what's going on right now, but because of cancel culture and stuff like that, where people have gone back to previous comedy
Cancel
skits and
culture
stuff.
alert!
Yeah, going back to like previous jokes they've made in the past. Not even within like the year or two, like 6 or 7 years ago, and people getting punished for stuff like that from back then when it wasn't as um I don't know how to say it, like overprotective over situations that fairly could be overprotected. Um so I will say it probably has changed a lot to where it's definitely there's a lot more of a line towards making offensive jokes. So that's why it's hard to say where that falls because everyone has their own sections, like where some people are okay with a lot of jokes, some people aren't okay with as many, or severity of like you said, it is a medical condition. That's why like it's hard to tell whether it should be something you're okay with, something they shouldn't be okay with, because it's something that's out of their control and it's not something that they really choose to go through and deal with on a daily life. Like you can make fun of for people for smoking, being fat fuck like me, eating fast food 24/7, like something like that. It's like a different setting, but I will say comedy definitely has changed in its viewpoint of like just how raw the comedy used to be versus to now. I feel like it's got to be a lot more scripted to not push buttons and stuff like that.
I mean,
Given that's the problem
yeah, I
with
don't
that,
know. I
as Alex and I were talking about, that is the problem with that is like because of it being like an awards show, they kind of needed to add some sort of like skit or kind of like emphasis to it to like bring attention to it, like besides just presenting awards. Because if not, like Alex said, there's probably serious devotees who are there to like actually see the awards be presented. But if not, then they're just kind of like there just to like see what's
Well,
going on.
point was these shouldn't have.
Shouldn't have that. Yes,
We can
exactly.
talk about comedy all we want, but I think at the end of the day, personally, let's not have all these jokes at a fucking movie award show because that becomes the focus. This is
Yeah.
now the focus, right? Which movie won Best Picture?
Best
Elmo,
Picture.
What movie won the which movie won
Was it
the
Dune?
most prestigious award at the Oscars last night?
Elmo's World.
That's
Wasn't
your
it
vote.
Dune? I think it
It
was
was
Dune.
not. Dune was not even nominated. It might have been not.
Dune
I would have
was
been
nominated. They won so many different awards.
Dune won a few of them. It was a movie called Coda.
Okay.
CODA.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yep. But see, now here's the thing, though. Right? Let's take a second to think about this. Right? And I got two caveats here. One, if I don't know if Jennifer Lawrence was there. I didn't see her while I was watching it. Right? But now the thing is, would Jennifer Lawrence go up there and smack Amy Schumer for the joke she made about calling her fat? I don't think she
Sure.
would. I don't think she would have taken it that far. But then again, you also think of circumstantial, how circumstantial it is. Will Smith, Jada, they've been in the public light longer. They've been in the news more recently. I mean, Chris
yeah.
Rock and Will Smith also have a past. So did that play into it, right? I mean, and also, if you think about it, if we're gonna make jokes, if we're gonna make different things like that, I mean, I mean, do you think what happens if somebody made a joke about somebody being deaf? You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't be right. That'd be canceled immediately. That person, that individual. I mean, that would have
Well,
been
I don't know.
the talk of the show, not the Will Smith Chris Rock thing.
Anyway, I agree with what you're saying in that respect. I think it is understandable why he's just started swinging. I get it. Like I do understand, right? I don't think it's necessarily the argument though. It's like you can understand something and even sympathize. Like I sympathize with my boy William. I do. I don't understand, but I can understand why he might have that pent up feeling or whatever. But at the end of the day, that doesn't justify just like swinging at people, or it's not going to make me agree with him doing that. Like it's not even like we're at a bar and like you just doing that. Like that even then I don't agree with that. Like I think violence should be used very sparingly, but like this is the surreal part of it. This is the fucking Oscars. Like this man literally walked up on stage in a more or less scripted show and just slapped a man. Like that in itself is just that's why everyone's talking about it. It's so surreal. Such a weird time and a place to be doing that. And then he's like, I'm gonna get away from my mic so I get the full effect here. He's sitting away from the audience. He's like, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Like he's just fucking like there's just so much anger at
Mhm.
this award show. And that's just so bizarre, right? Which is part of the reason why it makes it so interesting. But it's like that's
Yeah, but
definitely not the time and the place for that. It's not.
yeah, but I mean, you got to think though. For like you and I though, we can say, hey, it's not the right time and place. But you got to think these people have been in the limelight for however long they've been famous. So
Okay,
at what point does this become average life for them? What point? I mean, was he even thinking that this is televised? Was he even thinking that millions of
you
people,
have to be aware.
people in the world were going to see this? Like, at what point do you just accept the fact that you're always in the limelight? And does it even matter to you what you do? You know what I mean? Like, he's been doing this for so long that maybe right then and there he wasn't even thinking because he's used to being taken pictures of, videos of that. Like, maybe he wasn't even conceptualizing it. Like, I don't know. Like, for you and I, it's a completely different feeling because we haven't been in his shoes.
I mean, I get what you
Right. So we
mean.
can sit here and critique that all we want, but we don't really know what's going through his mind. We don't really know what he's thinking about. We don't know if he's even thinking about this stuff. You know?
Okay, like I said though, I understand, and I don't think this is a conversation about celebrity culture as a whole. I think it is very toxic, right? You look at how people dehumanize it and just look at idolize, like it's idol culture is what it is, right? And I very much disagree with pretty much all of it. I don't think that things like the Will and Jay, I mean, they kind of made it public, so it's a little different, but like you don't have privacy, and every like little like secret you have, like all this shit, you're just getting bombarded with it constantly, right? And this, I would assume, is an emotional like pour over from that.
Mhm.
So like I said, I don't exactly understand one for one. Obviously,
I
I'm
can
not
see why
famous,
it happened.
at least not famous yet. But I understand that that's it's on a psychological level, the kind of effect that all this the limelight and all this shit can have on a person. Yeah, we're all people. At the end of the day, we're all just people, and we
Exactly.
don't view celebrities as people. And I think that's a big thing of what's missing with the discourse around this whole thing is that like Will Smith to us he's a concept, right? He's a name. He's not really a person to the everyday person. We even use the words like everyday person, right? Because we hold celebrities to like a
Different standard.
higher regard, a higher standard. And in some way they are in more public light. They should act maybe a little better. But like we don't recognize at this point that they're people. And that's really messed up, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's missing from the conversation. And I do want to say, yeah, I understand, like I said.
Yeah.
But even saying all that, there's a difference between, you know, agreeing with what he did and saying it's okay and like understanding it. Like, I don't think he should like lose his career over it, you know? from like an emotion. He didn't feel like killed somebody. That's one thing, but like you know what he did to me, it was very wrong. But
Well,
you
yeah,
know
because like
he shouldn't. Yeah, he shouldn't lose everything.
when you look at like actors, like public figures and stuff like that, like people kind of like take it out of context that they're actual people still. Like being that like emotional like pressure can get to them, everything can like break down on them, especially the wear and tear of like being in this field for literally decades, that they're just constantly in the limelight and like stuck being followed by the public eye. So it definitely lays an impact, and that's definitely where like people kind of like subdue it and not think about it as heavily because they are famous. But then it's even more so. Like yeah, exactly. Like being the difference between like actually understanding why he did it is completely okay versus like agreeing with it. I wouldn't say I agree. I can understand maybe the actions in a different place in a different time, but not in front of the whole world where you know everyone will see it and watch it. But maybe at the same time, it could be like you wouldn't want it to be taken out of context that it happened a different way at a different place because like literally everyone's seeing it then, so they can't have discourse over what actually happened because it happened right in front of them. So like maybe that was like his way of just getting it done and over with. But like either way, I wouldn't say I support the situation and how it was handled. I'd say if he did it in a different place in a different time, I could support it, even if he slapped him or punched him, whatever. Then, but especially being like Chris Rock, then like, what are you gonna do? Slap back or hit him back? Like, especially being that you're such a smaller person, and then like maybe if it wasn't Chris Rock, like you said, like they have beef in the past. I don't know what it is. I never really paid attention to a lot of stuff. Um, but what if it was someone else maybe that did that? Would he still go through the same course of action? Would it just maybe be just because momentarily with all the stuff building up from them being in the news? So it's all situational stuff. And I feel like in the end, I still just don't agree with how it was handled. But I can understand why, as we've been saying, he did it. That's where I feel like it kind of makes it hard, like with the gray area in between about it.
Matt, what's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I truly don't know.
See, I think a lot of people that I think there's an element here to where I think the phrase like defending your wife, right? I think while that's obviously a good thing to do, I think that can be taken in a direction where it's like it becomes almost territorial, you
Mm-hmm.
know? It's like I've heard people say like, "Oh, you're not a man if you don't do what Will Smith did." It's like questioning masculinity and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
to me, it's associating masculinity with violence, which I just don't really appreciate. And I do think there's that element where, you know, like I said, it's just bringing masculinity into this where I don't think it really has a place.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that like the term defending your wife has been taken to a point where it's like you're kind of viewing your wife as like property or whatever. When like at the end of the day, like that is also a person,
Yeah.
and they obviously have their own agency. Now, there's also a lot of discussion. I've seen a lot of memes of I think one was like Will Smith was laughing and like Jada looked over and she was like Tupac would have never have laughed. Tupac would have killed her. Something like that. Which like, apparently her and Tupac dated. I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, apparently or not dated, maybe they're seeing each other like friends or whatever, something like that. But there was a meme like that.
Someone said Jada's gonna have to cancel her Tupac remembrance speech this year for his birthday.
Yeah,
Or it's
apparently she does it every year or something.
yeah. It's gonna be the new thing girls are gonna say is, would you defend me if someone made fun of me at the Oscars?
Yeah.
Instead of, would you still love me if I turned into a toaster?
I haven't been appreciated the memes, and like people are thinking that like Jada put him up to it, like he laughed at first, and Jada's like like in some way that she's like manipulating him. Now, I don't, I don't. No one knows the situation there except for the two of them
Yeah.
being some like, close friends or whatever. I don't really want to comment on that. I did want to bring it up because like a lot of people have been talking about that, but like, and people like saying it as a definite, and it's like, and they usually get the point they're like, only bring good women into your lives. And to me, it all just sounds very the way they're saying it just all sounds very misogynistic.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think anyone should really be saying anything for definite
Yeah,
because
because there's
literally
no way to confirm.
none, you fucking people on Facebook, you don't know. I'm sorry to tell you, you don't know what you're talking
But
about.
the internet's never wrong. What do you mean?
It's all it's. I'm telling you, it's all a Facebook people.
Facebook news is how I get all my actual news informed for me.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't watch news a lot. So basically, the way I learn about stuff is scrolling through Twitter, and I don't like take a side on it. I just see it all happening. I'm like, oh, cool.
True, but people have been taking that angle, and I just think the whole discussion has been injected with a lot of misogyny and, for lack of a better word, a lot of like toxic masculinity or like toxic views on masculinity and things like that. But like, anyone watching this, anyone out there, you don't know the situation. None of us do.
Yeah, you 5 people.
So you 40 people that will be watching this video, you don't know. And to say exactly, nobody knows. And to say anything for definite like that, it's kind of, I want to say it's wrong. It's wrong to do that. And it pushes a narrative that can be very damaging. And if it was like an objectively true like thing to say, like, okay, but it's not, because you don't know.
And that's why, like, even us here, like what we're saying right now today, like it's all just opinion. Like we could be easily wrong. We don't know for sure because we don't know the whole situation. We don't know what led to it. We don't know what's built up in the past for sure. So it's just kind of all opinions based on what we think the situation arose and like how it was handled. So yeah, especially with being like stuff like this big, like being there's millions of people watching, everyone's gonna have different viewpoints. Everyone's gonna, especially bigger people, are gonna try to push their own narrative. People are gonna use it for clout. People are gonna use it for following and stuff like that. So like, you never know like what truly is happening, and it's hard to judge it officially.
But I agree with that. I mean, what we're saying is purely opinion based, purely subjective. But going off the using it as like a
Clout,
a narrative, an opinion piece, whatever. I mean, when I was scrolling through Twitter, I mean, yesterday with the Will Smith Chris Rock thing, what had happened was super trending on Twitter. Now it's only trending in the entertainment part of Twitter. It's not even trending as a. If you go out right now, go on Twitter and go under trending, it's not even one of the options. It's but like the A-list actors. I don't see many A-list actors even commenting on it that I've seen. It's only been purely the same people who have always had that have been very outspoken as celebrities, like Chrissy Teigen, I think that's her name.
John Legend's wife.
Yeah, I mean, but she's always been outspoken, and no offense to her, I don't really care what she says. I don't. I could care less what she says. She's not. I mean, I personally, I do not view celebrities in the light that most people do.
That's
whatever
good.
They say. I don't take what they say to define and use to make my own personal decisions. I'm my own forward-thinking, free-thinking individual, and yeah, I look at see what they say just cause it's purely entertainment. But I mean, somebody like her, like John Legend's not outspoken whatsoever. If you think about it, like he's relatively quiet, keeps to himself. His wife, on the other hand, is just completely out there. Like I don't see that. Like look at like Mark Hamill, for instance. If you look at him on Instagram, he went ahead and said, "Oh, it's assault. It's this." Like he's only famous for Star Wars. I mean, come on.
Oh, whoa! He voiced the Joker.
Okay, you know what?
And he's the best Joker. And
no.
Whole different debate. Whole different debate for another day.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you don't see people use it for their own personal gain or for their own personal following.
Yeah.
But there's like, if you think about it, look what Denzel Washington said to Will Smith before he accepted his award. I mean, come on.
What did he say? I didn't watch the Oscars at all.
I watched it. I watched it last night, so it's been a while since I've actually remembered it. Let me look it up real quick.
It was the devil gets you when you're at your highest point.
Yes.
I don't even like that line that much.
I thought it was perfect. I think it purely defines exactly what happened. I mean, you have to think. It's the same thing. I mean, not to get off topic here, but it's the same thing that happens with like a lot of the rock bands from the 80s and the 90s and all these people that are famous in the music industry. Like a lot of them do, when they're at their highest point, they're not care. They're in it for whatever they're in it for, and a lot of them are turning to drugs and doing whatever. Like they're at their highest point in their career, and look what happened. Like the opposite happened of what they probably wanted.
Yeah.
Like they get all mixed up in the stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like I think that's what Denzel Washington said was perfectly admirable. I think it was perfect for the scenario that happened. And if you look at the other stuff that happened, you look at, I think I saw that, I forgot his name. But right before the thing with the Godfather, where they brought with that presenter, I forgot his name. I should know his name. I don't know why I'm having a mind blank.
Yeah,
You guys remember?
I didn't watch the Oscars.
Oh well,
How do
why
you
we even
hate
count?
white
Whatever. I watched it. I like it. I mean, I love Reba McEntire, per my profile picture here. So I watched it for pretty much her. But right before, they did a segment on the Godfather because I think it was 50 years, and they brought, I forgot his name. He's super famous. I mean, they all are. And he did the opening. He's like, let's save this for the gold party afterwards. He said that Tyler Perry supposedly, from what I read, brought, Chris Rock and Will Smith together on the side, I guess, with like Denzel Washington and somebody else, and they talked to him side by side, working out there, kind of a thing. You got to think like that. I mean, it's admirable, all of that stuff. I mean, I think, not to get off topic, but I think whatever Denzel Washington said, I think it was perfect. I think it was right in the moment. I think, it happened. It happened. It's over with, right? I don't want to see anything bad happen because of it. I don't want to see Will Smith get canceled. You got to think of all the good he did. I mean, he's an inspiration to many people. He's
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, like it's the same thing, that would happen with groups of friends in private. Like if somebody said something bad to me, I'm sure I'd slap them. But the difference is I'm not in the public view. I'm not a celebrity, so you're not going to see me do that. I'm not going to put myself in a predicament that would, the same thing would happen to me. It's food for thought. Whatever.
Well, now I just can't wait to see what the betting odds are for who slaps someone next year. Gotta put our bets in.
I mean, I think Chris Rock's. This is by far the best thing, the best Oscars. Whatever. I think it. If you think about it, these award shows, a lot of them have been fading in popularity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that.
We covered that before because we kind of figured like it's not like there's no gain from it.
I'm sorry I missed that. But
that's fine. Like you said, you said you only watched it for Reba McEntire. Like that's the exact
that's
situation.
Why I wanted to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like people have like their reasons, and I feel like there's just less and less reason to watch it. And there's just like, besides like Alex said, people that actually want to watch it for the awards. So
yeah, like I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've seen a single one of those movies that was up for nomination. I haven't even heard of some of them.
That's
right.
I think that's how not. That's more or less how it should be, because then it's not a popularity contest.
Yeah.
For a lot of categories.
Wasn't like that Moonlight movie or whatever won like a couple years ago.
Yeah, I've never heard. I heard of Moonlight.
Well, yeah, I was like working at the theaters when that happened, and it was in theaters, but I'd never heard of it before that.
So was Moonlight the one where they whoever the presenter was said Moonlight, but wasn't it supposed to be La La Land?
No, they said La La Land. It was supposed to be Moonlight.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, that was terrible.
How to never present award again.
Like,
how to never present award again.
No, they don't.
I mean, it's who was that? Wasn't that? Wasn't that Steve Harvey?
Why would Steve Harvey be presenting an award at the Oscars? What? Why would he do that?
Can I get La La Land on the board?
I just don't think that. Like I say, it'd be kind of bad for viewership, but I think they'll survive. I don't think it should be about how many people are watching it. I think it should be a celebration of film over the past year, and a lot of people aren't going to care about that. And the Oscars has a lot of problems. I mean, don't even get me started on Best Animated Feature. Don't get me started. You'll be here for another 3 hours.
I don't want to get you started. I don't want to know.
Don't get me started on it. But despite that, it is still a celebration of film. And I think people that really don't care that much about film as a medium, they think they're going to watch the Oscars. Like, oh, I don't care about the Oscars because you don't care about film that much, for the most part. There's some people that just will refuse to watch it, which I respect that. But like, people just aren't that interested. They're not interested in film. Like, you'll go to the movies, watch like the big movies, but you're not even going to hear about a lot of the ones that are getting nominated for Best Picture, the biggest award, because it's not really for you.
Mhm.
It's for the people, the industry, for the people in it, and for the people that really do appreciate that industry.
Listen, I
So,
appreciated I appreciated Spider-Man No Way Home 3 times. I think that deserves Best Picture. Fuck this Coda shit. I
it's
don't
a
even know what it is. Sounds like a dog's name.
No Way Home is a very you know
Um,
what its code stands for? It's Children of Deaf Adults or something.
yeah,
Like
I mean,
Never would have guessed that in my life.
if I would have known that was a movie, right?
I
mean,
wanna
I'm
see
gonna
it.
go watch it. I think it might be on Netflix. I'm
It's
gonna
on
go watch it. I
Apple
thought it was
TV.
interesting. Also, sidebar, I completely don't know where I got Steve Harvey from. It was Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. I don't even know where I got that from.
You just have Steve Harvey like
So
on your mind all the time.
Like, I don't know
Like-
why I said Steve Harvey. Maybe it's because that mustache filter that's on TikTok. I don't know where I got Steve Harvey from. I mean,
I think that's why.
but
He's just
I mean, I agree with the whole, people that watch the Oscars are probably the people that watch the movie, those mediums, the film as a medium. I mean, I personally didn't. I watched it for Reba McEntire. I also watched it to see who was in attendance because I like to, see who's there. I like certain celebrities. I actually primarily watched more of I was at work when the Oscars were on. So I only got to watch bits and pieces. I mean, I mostly watched like the red carpet stuff, like just to see what people are wearing, to see who's there, I mean,
and that's the grandeur around the event. But people, yeah, you watch it for that. You watch it for Reba. People are I'm not even tuning into the Oscars, but they'll probably watch it next year to see if anyone gets slapped or if Will Smith goes crazy again.
he might not even be invited back for all we know.
I don't.
Well, I'm sure he'll be.
I don't even think he should. I don't think he should be. First of all, how in the world did security not take him out? That's even if you agree with him, like
Probably because he was the winner.
I'll say I think there'd be more
Yeah, but
confrontation if you just saw someone sprinting across stage and just fucking taking out fucking Will Smith off the stage.
I do not comprehend how they didn't take him out of the Oscars. I don't really know if he should be invited back. I maybe not for like at least not for the next few years. I don't really know.
3-year suspension.
4 year suspension.
I mean, it would have been funny to see like Mel Gibson get up on stage and just take him out.
Just see The Rock walk up and pick
Tyler
him up.
Perry or Denzel
No.
Washington. Samuel L. Jackson just goes up on stage and surprise, motherfucker, and just takes him out.
See The Rock pick them up each by the back of their shirts and just have them tussling, like throwing punches at each other like it's a cartoon.
Like, I mean, I didn't see The Rock there either, but I mean that would have been cool. Or I don't know. I mean, it's all food for thought. That's all whatever. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I think at the end of the
whatever
day,
happens. It was a mistake. He admitted wrong to it. Maybe not there in his speech. Like, I mean, if that happened to me, I wouldn't admit I wouldn't say I'm sorry in my speech. That was minutes before, I won. I'd be pent up with anger still. I mean, people are so petty nowadays. Still, I mean, it's just like especially in America.
You
It's
don't
like
say.
The biggest thing. It's pettiness. I know, right? So I don't know. I don't want to see him get a suspension. I don't want to see him get kicked out. It is what it is. It happened. He apologized. Whether or not Chris Rock accepts that, I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're all human. We make mistakes. This isn't something super outlandish, right? This isn't like end of the world scenario. This isn't anything like that. This is a simple slap across the face. I mean, Chris Rock. I saw a news article. He declined to do any sort of police report or any charges. I mean, they're friends. They have a history. I mean, it happens.
Yeah,
It's a mistake.
I'm sure it all got
I'm
figured
sure
out.
he's going to own up to it. I'm sure at the end of the day, they're going to talk about it. I mean, yeah, it was wrong. I mean,
So
I
you
personally think
admit-
it was justified. I mean,
You admit he was wrong. So
I'll admit there's a time and a place.
he was wrong.
I'll admit there's a time and a place. But I personally, like I said before, feel that he's justified in his actions. I probably would have done the same thing. But then you think about it, it's a world stage. I don't know what's going through his mind. I don't know what's going through Chris Rock's mind. I don't know what's going through anyone's mind. This is purely, I don't know. I mean, it's wrong, but I think it's justified. I mean, if this was a jury of our peers, and we're deciding, is he guilty? Is he not guilty? Like, I don't know where I'd be. Like, it'd probably have to be declare a mistrial because I would pick not guilty. I mean, based on facts, he slapped in the face. You clearly see that there's a video of that. But if it was, a jury on feelings, thoughts, and perception, I mean, I think it's justified. But if it's solely based on, him slapping him in the face and the pure, how pure that video is, well, he's guilty. Yeah,
I think he'd have to be guilty.
Keep my names. Fuck. Keep my
names.
Name out your fucking mouth.
If we're going into court of law, I think he'd have to be guilty. He's got the fresh prints on his face.
All right. The point is, it was understandable. Presumably, it was presumably understandable. But to me, that does not make it justified. I think the way he should have handled that was, he tells Chris, his boy Chris Rock, after the show, he's like, I wasn't comfortable with that. Like, could you apologize? Or Jada wasn't comfortable with that. Can you apologize to her, or even make it a public apology? And we'll talk it out. I don't think that violence is rare. Violence is rarely ever justified. And I certainly don't think in this case, even despite how he was feeling, he could be having the worst fucking day of his life. That doesn't mean you can go around hitting people, especially at such a public thing. I think that's a very slippery slope to where it's like, okay, you just said a joke I don't like. I'm just gonna start fucking hitting you. I think that is an incredibly slippery slope, and I think we have assault laws for a reason. And even though Chris Rock, he's pressing charges, whatever, so it doesn't really matter about the actual charges or laws or whatever. But I think we have those in place to prevent things like that. And sometimes swinging, it's just what's got to happen. But I don't think this is nearly a case where it's justified or okay, even if we can understand that, what, like maybe why he did it or the kind of stress he's been under or whatever, doesn't make it okay. That's my personal thoughts on it, and I think that he's 53. He's been in the industry a long time. He should know, even despite however he's feeling, he should know that there's different ways to handle that, and he should have done that. Should have talked it out. Mature person, but he had an emotional outburst, which happens. We're all people. Like I said, with celebrities, we're all people.
Yeah, basically to round it out, like it happens in life. I guess we'll see going on to social media how everyone like comes out of the situation. I know Jade already posted about being confident with her bald head and everything like that. So we'll see like what Will Smith and how Chris Rock handle it in the future. Chris Rock's next comedy special is probably gonna be fire. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think out of the situation, it definitely brings a lot of more question to the public eye and like how everything's carried with like social figures and like how everything else is going and like maybe people like as always you don't know what's going on in people's life, so never to push the wrong buttons and see where it goes. But thank you everyone else for watching. I don't know if anyone else has any other final words we haven't already covered, but
I have one final few words to say.
Mm-hmm.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Anything else, Matt? You want any closing statements?
That name? It was Diddy. I was thinking of Diddy right before the Godfather.
He did.
He also said, I'm looking at a quote from the radio station we're from, and there's a quote here in this picture that says, "That's not a problem. That's over. I can confirm that. It's all love. They're brothers." So and then he said, "Take it at the gold party. Take care of it." So that's what it was when I was referencing earlier. But other than that, I mean, I think you guys are both right. I mean, it's I don't know, it's opinion. I mean, I don't want to say you're right because opinions, they're
everyone's justified.
Opinions, right?
They're all verifiable opinions that are like on a good track.
They're each their own. But I mean, time and a place. That's what I'll just say. Time and a place.
But yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching.
And remember, to keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.